Welcome to Murder Moves, part of the Slashing Cast podcast network.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
This is
Rod?
not
Rod.
this is
Can you
not
can
a
you
Verizon
hear
commercial.
me? Can you hear me now?
This is not a Verizon commercial. This is not a Verizon commercial. But Josh has downloaded every movie that's ever existed onto his PC, and so he's like, "You mean I've downloaded 18,000 terabytes of movies and TV shows on my internet,
Hey, I'm attempting.
and you're throttling me?"
Dude, you see, or no, you can't see because I'm not moving my fucking camera because that just took forever to get it into this position. So screw you. You're not seeing it, but I'm gonna tell you about it right now.
I want to use my imagination, Josh.
Yeah. Use your imagination, Rod. I have over there. Okay, you know those like, wait, what is it? 4, 8. So a 16 box shelf system from IKEA, those big ones, all white, super deep shelves. I had like 2 or 3 bookshelves upstairs at one point when I was not. Love you, sweetie. Good night.
Aww.
Yeah, I had all the movies upstairs and they were on bookshelves and stuff, but then when I moved everything down here, I had to like condense it all into that, and it's like this weird, it's like doubled up, stacked up. It's all like, I think at one point I counted them and there was like over 1100 DVDs, Blu-rays, that type of stuff. So I'm attempting to like just download the movies that I own to like back up onto my server because I want to watch them again, but I don't want to put them in like that.
But Josh, putting it in is the best part.
Oh, right.
Josh is like, oh, I know.
You know what? A good woman is hard to find, Rod.
It is. This is true. Or good man. So, whatever preferences you have. We will not judge where your genitals go. Here
No, man. I was talking about the movie for this week.
Oh, I thought you meant intercourse of the sexual variety.
No.
I was very confused.
Yeah. It was a perfect segue.
No, it was. So we're recording this on the 6th of January 2021. America is burning down around me, but
yeah, dude,
we're still
what
alive.
The hell
we're
is
still
going on, man?
We're trying to create some content. I streamed for a little bit today, just trying to be like, things are crappy outside, so let's like do something fun and have fun together with friends. So we're here recording and doing good things. Josh is in Canada, where it is the middle of the Antarctic age.
Judging you.
I mean, everyone's judging us. We're judging ourselves, the reasonable people here, at least. So
from afar, we're just like, whoa, what the fuck, man? Holy!
You're gonna build that wall from like the South Park video game.
People are literally losing their mind. Like full on, they have lost their minds. Like in what like universe is any of this okay?
I don't know.
Like what the fuck?
Do you remember that thing that used to happen on Nickelodeon, where you would like load up your cart with a bunch of toys in like Toys R Us in a certain amount of time period? I feel like that those were the people that went into the building today in Washington and just started taking shit. They were like, okay, you have 5 minutes to take as much shit out of the
I was like,
the house building.
Did someone say,
here.
oh, they got TVs, go and get the TVs?
Yeah. I still think it was insane. I don't know if you saw the picture of the guy.
They're like, oh, they got PS5s in there, I'm going to get them.
Did you see the guy carrying out the podium from
I know I didn't. I haven't seen much. It's crazy, dude.
It was, America is a shit show right now, so it's been entertaining. Enough of that.
Yes.
So,
on
Josh and I were going. No, Josh, I think we went over that, but like, how is Canada? How is Canada besides judging the U.S.? Is everything? Are the Timmys as Timmy as ever, and are the Mooses as murdery as ever?
I don't know, man. I know this basement.
You know that base, and Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
know that I got a lot of garbage still. Garbage day still hasn't happened.
Garbage
Dude,
day.
you said that recycling happens every twice a week for you.
Every
Uh
2 weeks for us.
yeah. For me, that's garbage is once every 2 weeks, and recycling is every week.
That's
So
insane.
yeah, so I'm like, oh no, and we just got rid of stuff before. I'm so overwhelmed. But it's recycling day tomorrow, so at least half of it will be gone. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
That's
That's
like
my life, dude. That's how small my life is right now. It's like COVID. Okay, I'm just gonna like basement. Cool. What's up?
if you
I'm
guys don't. I
building
mean,
a fucking website. That's what I'm doing, man. I'm building an empire, and it's going to launch very soon, and it looks fucking great. And I just love this last package I worked on. I'm
yeah.
I'm blowing my own mind, and that's a good thing, man.
Are you blowing yourself a la Marilyn Manson with missing ribs?
Oh, he had to what? Yo, he
That was
got rid of ribs just to do
That's-
that?
I don't
Just
think
to
he
give
really
him
did. I think that was an old urban legend from when I was a kid.
Hey,
Hence,
man.
when you were a kid. So
He was letting them all live because he knew that being famous meant just like letting it all, like you're being talked about, that's like gonna get you some sales.
Yeah.
Like we knew who he was, right?
Yeah. You know, Manson is I do enjoy his music. So whatever he
yeah.
was doing, I think it was probably the best route to go down.
Hell yeah,
So,
man. He's a
if you could
genius.
see by looking at the title of this episode, if you are listening, we were originally going to do a movie from the end of
I don't think it's
2019,
No, I don't
but
think it's come out, yeah.
yeah,
Like for real though. I
it's
think
called
he got like a really small theatrical release for some reason during COVID.
yeah.
Maybe just to hit. I don't have no idea, but I think it's gonna get like an on-demand release soon or something. So
We see
we'll
a
definitely talk about it.
2021 date on the IMDb page with nothing else.
I'm
And I think-
excited to see it nonetheless because it looks
Yeah.
really good. And this is just, I haven't been out of my bubble enough to even like anticipate movies other than the list that you and I talked about last week and stuff, which is a
Yeah.
good list. And now this movie was on my radar before. It's now popped up, and now because we can't watch it, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm building more anticipation for it. So I hope it's good because now.
Yeah.
If it's not,
It-
fuck that movie.
It actually
just-
has been.
That's just me now. I get to say that about movies
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Well, Antlers was probably the last horror movie I started seeing trailers for, right? Like before COVID.
Yeah.
It was like the end of 2019, early 2020. Maybe besides like the shit that came out after that, like was like Invisible Man and stuff like what was it? Hunt. Is that what that movie was called? And
Oh, right. Because The Invisible Man was like the big movie. Well, it was really good too, but
it was the
still.
last movie that came out like in theaters right before shutdown.
yes. But it's on like a lot of people's lists too. I've
Yeah.
been seeing a lot of lists for top horror movies of 2020, and
Yeah.
there's a movie that I want to put on our list to check out. Something about Jackson or something, I think it's called.
I think I know what you're talking about. Is that the
Yeah, I
one that's on Shudder?
I'm not sure if it's on Shudder, but it's produced or distributed by the boys that sponsored my 24-hour stream,
Yeah.
Black Fawn Distribution. So anything for Jackson, that's what it's called. So I want to check that one out. It's got like 98% on fucking Rotten Tomatoes, and
Josh, we maybe we'll do that for next week, but we really got to get into this fanatic with the So Horrified people, and so I got to talk to you about this afterwards. You're going to be watching John Travolta putting on the worst performance of his life. in the
no,
very near
well,
future.
you've been saying we're gonna watch it. You just tell me when, and I'll put it. On
yeah,
my list,
I'll
right?
I
So
talked to.
I'm just saying that this is one that I lost the name and was meaning to tell you about this. I think like 2-3 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
now it's there. We can watch it. Anything for Jackson.
Well, we found a really fucking badass replacement, man. So instead of that Antlers movie, we instead reviewed We watched A Good Woman is Hard to Find. It says 2019, but I think what that is was the British release of this movie.
Yes,
The
I would.
American release was the 8th of May, 2020. And Josh, you want to read the synopsis?
Where is it? A recently widowed young mother will go to any lengths to protect her children as she seeks the truth behind her husband's gruesome murder.
It doesn't say gruesome here.
Yeah, well, I wanted to add a little bit because
You're ad-libbing. What did I tell you about ad-libbing, Josh?
she's holding
Do
a
it more.
fucking hammer on the cover. A good woman is hard to find. She does her own freaking DIY, man. That's a good one.
She,
DIY.
yeah. Not only does she slap you in the eye with a vibrator, she
Hey,
also
she,
will.
she knows how you like it.
Dude, I was like, so this movie is. I was telling Josh, and he asked if you should watch it with his wife, and I said, "Does your wife like anxiety type movies?" And he's like, "Hell no," and I'm like, "Then no, don't."
I watched
get
it
her-
with her though.
Was she anxious the whole time like I was? Dude,
Whoa, yeah, my internet is messed right now. I'm pulling like nothing.
so sometimes I may not understand what Josh is saying, but luckily, with how we record, that doesn't matter.
I'm talking about my internet being jacked right now, and that's why
Yeah.
you can't hear me.
Yeah. Well, I can hear you most of the time, but it cuts out and I lose you at little parts. But so I got anxious about some stuff I was working on at work the other day, aka Monday, and then promptly put this movie on right after work and was literally just a ball of anxiety for the next 90 minutes because holy shit, man. This movie like starts off and it shoots its shot. It tells you how bad this woman's life is real quickly, and then you just get anxious for the next 90 minutes. Like
It's how it's filmed. It's perfect. It shows reactions
yeah,
to stuff rather than what is happening most of the time, and it really keeps you in her head, and the tension is so high the entire movie that like you said, it feels like a 90-minute anxiety attack. And I was literally so into the movie that like I came out of the movie and noticed that I was literally and figuratively on the edge of my seat. I was like, holy shit. I'm like actually on the edge of my seat right now. I'm like, this is really just building and keeps building and keeps building. But it's all in her face and her eyes and her everything. She is so good in this movie the entire time. I believed it because she was so believable. I don't know, like it was
funny
really well
because her name is Sarah Bolger. Her character's name is Sarah. It's another. Sometimes I wonder if actors just having their own names in movies gives them like they feel like they're not as like they're just like kind of more free when they're doing this stuff. I don't know. It's weird. Like we talked about Host obviously before, like our test episode, and that movie was so intense from the get-go and kind of shared a lot of the things that like made this movie entertaining. I don't know how many Shudder movies I haven't liked, but I think that the ones Shudder is picking up for its Shudder exclusives are usually at least like entertaining, right? Like I haven't seen any of their movies that are just plain old bad, right? Netflix will pick up any movie that's any quality of whatever horror.
They have so much money and they have a budget that is bigger than I would assume Shudder, but Shudder is more exclusive. And I think because Shudder holds the name and the niche market so well, they can earn the rights to better horror movies. I would hope,
Yeah.
because of their reputation and stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
and I applaud it. I love it because, like
Yep.
you said, man, every movie that you've put me onto on to Shudder has been
Yep.
a fucking knockout, and I'm like, hell yeah! Like
Yeah.
this one again, like huge applause to this fucking movie.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I laughed because I was learning. I was talking with British people about the Cockney accents in this movie. So it's another movie where all the bad guys have that Cockney
Yeah.
like hard accent, and it's as soon as they start talking, like the Sarah has this like proper British accent, and then like I'm very Mary Poppins and whatever, and she's gonna go drink some tea and shit. I don't know, and but then you meet all the criminals who are the bad guys, and they're as cockney as they come, and you're like, I told Josh this before you watched it. I was like, put on the subtitles because this cockney accents are just like, they are not always easy to say, and they're being super cockney, they're also dropping huge. I keep getting introduced to new British ways to swear, and I'm just like, this was another movie, and I'm just like, man, they were just throwing shit out there that I'm like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? And I don't care because I love it, but man. Okay, we're back. Josh had to do dadly duties. I was actually trying to think of, after I watched this movie, the last time I was like as like tense watching something. I had a hard time wondering, like, this movie, like the last movie I remember feeling super tense in was like Midsommar. That shit was like, had real tense scenes, but man, I can't believe this movie. I mean, like, Shudder's giving it a lot of credit. Like, it's on the front pages. It had been on lists and appeared at, like, I think it was Fantastic Fest. I was reading, was getting a lot of praise, but man, I'm amazed that more people aren't going off about how good this movie is.
Yeah, for real. Sarah killed it.
Josh,
the only person that I wish, like, well, I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but like the main thug, I didn't like him. Like, he just, I don't know. There was something about him that I didn't like, and felt like he should have been one of the like lower tier thugs, because he didn't, I don't know. He was trying too hard. He seemed like a try hard, but maybe that was what they were going for.
It was weird with him because they had a whole reoccurring thing where like he was a grammar nut, which was a weird intricacy of a villain character. The main character, the bad guy was Leo Miller, right? Yeah. Is played by a guy named Edward Hogg, and as soon as you're introduced to him, he's like this local business owner that owns a bunch of things, but is also like basically like, people know he's a drug dealer too, or like a mob boss kind of thing. Like, he extorts yeah, he's tied to drug dealers, and that's how he gets tied in the story. And man,
I like how they introduce characters though, because like this movie is almost like, there's so many scenes where I'm like, wait a second, how long is this oneer been? And like it's almost done like 1918, like as a full oneer, but not. So like you really know who's taken over the story, or because it's all done essentially as like a third person of the character that you're supposed to be watching. It's like, oh no, you're watching this person now. It's like, whoa, because I thought it was going to be pretty much through her eyes the entire time, and all of a sudden it was just like the pan went and someone walked past, and it was like, and all of a sudden you're following him, and I was like, this is really cool. So it really showcased that the story is going to be taking place within this block, and they say that a lot, the block.
Yeah, so I think from what I gathered from everything, this all takes place in like English public housing. I think is kind of what the
Yeah.
equivalent of what it was kind of being explained and came out right. And so I sit there and go, so these is very equivalent to like low income kind of like ghetto, quote unquote ghetto kind of things that we've had movies in this country, and that goes from like, you know, things like what was Jennifer Lawrence's one that her first movie she did where she was like the little coal mining town, to anything to like
Winter's Bone.
Winter's Bone, stuff like that, to like,
Yeah, that was a good
you know,
movie. But that's when you knew right away. I was like, holy shit, who is this chick? She is so good. And then boom, Oscar, like right after that movie, right? So,
and then she started going, I'm gonna just get paid cajillions of dollars.
Yeah, I'm too good for you. I'll just go hide until you give me enough money. No, I don't. Is she like that? I doubt it.
I mean, she started doing more. She started doing the X-Men movies and Hunger Games and all that stuff, is what I'm saying. And then after that, after Hunger Games and X-Men, she started doing like weirder movies like Mother, and
she doesn't want to do franchise movies probably anymore. That's what like big actors like what's his nuts, who's going to be Batman right now, did.
Yeah,
right? Like he did the whole Twilight thing, and then he's like, oh crap, now I'm only known as this person, that sucks. So then he started doing the underground films and showed that he's a really, really good actor. And then
now he's Batman.
But whatever, man. Like
I'm Batman.
We'll see. Like DC is just in shambles right now. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it shows because they're going in literally 3 different directions at the exact same time with one character. What the fuck?
Well, that, and if you read in the I think that the guy, the black kid who plays the Cyborg is pissed off about how he got treated, and I think a lot of that had to do with
Joss Whedon.
With Joss Whedon, yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of like weird stuff coming out of the interwebs about Joss Whedon treating people like shit. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And they've actually written the Cyborg out of the new Flash movie, and I'm like,
what?
Wow. That, I mean,
because Batman is gonna be in it, like Michael Keaton. So
yeah, because they're doing the whole thing that the WandaVision,
they're doing the Spider-Verse, the Batman-verse.
Basically, they're doing the multiverse and combining it, right? So, so then and then Michael Keaton is Batman again, which is funny because he's also Birdman. So when is Batman going to fight Birdman? That's my real question. That's another movie that with one continuous shot.
Oh yeah,
and that is really pretty cool.
But that one doesn't do the tension like this. It just does it
for
the effect. Like
that's more a drama version of this. This is like,
this is
so. You see this movie?
I don't know, man, because like the way this was, the story unfolds, it just feels like this is going to be like a mystery movie more than a horror movie. I was like, honestly, I was questioning if this movie was a horror movie until about the halfway point. I was like, is this actually even a horror movie? Like, I'm enjoying it thoroughly, but is this actually a horror movie? And then all of a sudden, wham, you're hitting the face with the gore scene, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. And like, you really feel like you're in this character's shoes now before the gruesome shit happens, and you appreciate it so much more. The filming techniques were just so well done in this for that, like just the right in your face feeling.
This movie was directed by a guy named Abner Pastrol, and I've never heard the name Abner before, but I fucking love it. And
nice.
I've never heard of anything else he's done. Like
it sounds like the line from the movie. It's such a unique name. You would remember it when you hear it, type thing. When the kid is just like saying it as he walks past.
Yeah. Tito. Tito.
Tito. Tito.
Tito. So yeah, he
I,
did another movie called Road Games in 2015, which I don't know what it is, but it looks like Mad Max kind of on the cover. Um,
a
and
little bit.
so yeah, so it's interesting. It's another young maker who just knows how to do filmmaking, man, and has done a really good job. So it'll be interesting to see what this person's done will do, because all they've done, like I said, is a bunch of shorts and one other movies. So
Nice. And a TV series, but
yeah. Oh yeah, there was another movie in 2004, but man, um, also it's one of the reasons I like this movie. When we hit two things. This is an independent movie that also has it's English, so
foreign. Yeah.
it's also a foreign film. So we can knock out two categories with one movie, Josh. So we're
I love
well,
that because the next week I guess would be foreign as well because it's a Canadian
would be
movie.
what?
It's Canadian, so that
Yeah, I mean
the Jackson
it's
movie.
interesting because it's I mean it's another reoccurring theme that we see in American movies all the time. That one of the big themes in this movie is that the police don't give a fuck about poor people.
Mhm. Well,
And
the amount of like stereotyping that happens from her just because she like it is it's just a circumstance. She's
yeah,
like that's it, and that's it. It isn't the case. So she is fighting for everything. She's fighting for her name. She's fighting for her husband's name. She's fighting to
yeah,
just like have a name again.
she's
She's just been like dragged through the fucking mud, and everyone sees her as this like piece of shit on their shoes and
yeah,
treats her as such. And
yeah,
it's crazy, and but so
yeah.
like the way it unfolds and the manipulation of characters on
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's just really well done.
It's I mean, you first get off like at like the you start realizing how we're not gonna spoil this yet. We're gonna just go like our normal thing, but um like the opening scene has or one of the opening scenes has this woman going into this grocery store with her 4-year-old or 6-year-old, and she's got like a list, and you can see she has on her thing 1736 written out. And so you go, oh, this woman is real poor right now. And you go, okay. And so she's like going fine through the grocery store, and then her 6-year-old goes through and eats a candy bar
And
that
messes the whole
wasn't in
thing
her
up.
in her
Yeah.
budget. And you're like, oh fuck, because then she gets to the register, and then she has to play the. I don't know why she did this, because she should have just put something away beforehand.
Yeah.
But maybe she was hoping that because she had been adding shit up, like she knew, and she sits there and she goes, "Well, I'm gonna have to put that one thing back," and you're like, "Oh my god!" It's the I'm too poor for $17 worth of grocery or $18 worth of groceries or what it goes up to. You're like, "Oh my god!" It's those. You know what's funny about that though? I always felt like those fucking things in grocery stores. It was like that wall of like plastic clear containers that are like 3 inches off the ground because they want 6-year-olds to eat treats out of them while they're
Yeah, yeah,
walking
yeah.
by, and you go, this shit seems pretty shady, and I call shenanigans, Josh. I call
I
shenanigans.
remember when I was a kid, I did that. I grabbed. You remember those like pack of like I don't know if you ever saw them, but there was like a pack of like suckers, the lollipop ones with the, and they came and they were like tied together with like a whatever, like
Yeah,
a rubber band or some shit. And
yeah,
I remember loving that because you didn't just get one, you got like a fucking pack of like six or whatever it was, and I was just
yeah,
always obsessed. And they were just the height of kids, and I would
yeah.
always just walk past and go and throw it in the cart, right? And it got put in and on the conveyor belt and paid for. And then I got home and my mom was like unpacking the groceries and saw it. And I just remember going like, I'm so disappointed, so mad. I'm like,
Mm.
they. I don't remember if I ate them or not, but
It's
I
yeah.
remembered that.
This movie feels pretty realistic. I could probably agree with you. The criminal might be a little over the top, the bad guy, the Leo Miller guy,
He's
because
the
he's just the
only
tip.
character I didn't like in the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like Tito either, but Tito was like realistic, not like him, and might have been like,
I felt like he played it perfect.
yeah,
Exactly how that idiot would,
yeah,
like, he's pretty much the Jesse Pinkman, like, dumb, or like the characters that
yeah,
hang out with Jesse Pinkman, and like those type of characters, and like the
yeah,
stupidity and the like, oh, I got this wicked idea, I'm just gonna jack this car, and like those type of schemes that always
yeah,
happened on episodes of Breaking Bad. Like, it was that
yeah,
to a T. But like,
yeah.
I yeah, no,
So, so we'll get in here. We'll talk about. There's
you
something
didn't
sets
like him
off
because
this.
you're not supposed to like him,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. So basically, this is a minor spoiler, but it kind of sets off the plight of the movie, and you see in the trailer, this Tito character, he's played by Andrew Simpson, and he basically is this low life who just wants easy cash, and he sees these two dudes selling drugs on this street in the public, like right in front of Sarah's, her apartment building. And so he steals a car and slams it into the side of this car where they're selling drugs out of, and he steals all the drugs, forces himself into Sarah's apartment to store them and hide. And the series of events occur from there at that point. And Tito is a very, very, very like you're annoyed by him the whole time, but then you
Yeah.
go, oh, and he's not even the worst of the worst.
Well, it's
And
because the main mob guy, he doesn't look that, I don't know, he's too clean cut or something, and he's like making up for it by just being so over the top. And
yeah,
uh
well,
but
so like
Tito, you feel like Tito is Tito though. Like, again, those two, I felt like they were literally those characters. They were playing them so well for me.
yeah, yeah. I think what I really liked about the Leo character, the main bad dude, is you just see like he portrayed rage in his eyes pretty good. It seemed
Hmm.
like this guy was like, you could see him about to lose his goddamn mind in a lot of these scenes. You go, oh, this motherfucker's crazy. And I approve
Lose
of
your
that because it gets you
goddamn
to the point where you're
mind.
going,
Oh,
oh yeah,
dude.
they are
Oh, I wish I had that song still. Sorry.
that they are in for a world of hurt,
Yeah.
because once he figures out what's happening with the two dudes who got robbed and his
Well, they set it up and show you throughout the movie just how vicious this guy is. Like, he
yeah,
doesn't give a fuck who you are. If you stand up
yeah,
to him, he's shorter, so he's going to make up with it by killing you.
yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
much.
he's a dude. He's a dude who goes, I got here through brutality and wit, because the guy's smart. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because there's a lot of things that are just movie logic, maybe not movie logic, but movie coincidences in this movie. And you
But it's so
go,
funny
"Oh,
when they
this,
go. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
yeah, and you go, we'll get into it when we spoil, and we're like, oh no, you can't, no, I mean, and none of it's bad. It's just like, you just go, if you think about it too hard, you're like, well, I don't think that was very realistic, and then you go, and I don't think that was very real. There's like a couple of things, and none of them truly distract from the movie, right? Because you're so on the edge of your seat while going through everything. You're like, I mean, it's afterwards you think about it, and you're thinking about like little things. It's like stuff that stood out to you in a movie, right? Things that
Yeah.
you're like, I didn't care about this when I watched it, and it's not gonna. I don't think it will like upset me later on the road, but yeah, it's something you realize, right? And it's just something I like to think about. So we could get into spoiling this here pretty soon.
I think we've gushed enough so people,
Yeah,
I think, understand that we both recommend the shit out of this movie, and it was a
yeah,
fucking 10 out of 10 for me, man. Like, it
yeah,
felt
yeah, dude.
it,
It was a really fun ride. I mean, and by
like
and like
after it was done, I was just like, Yeah, and there was a little fucking thing after the credits of this movie too. I always watch until the very end.
I
I don't know
didn't
what.
see that either. So
Well, no, it's just
am-
her face, but like
yeah,
it's like satisfaction instead of
yeah.
like uh the whole.
It's this movie has very very heavy thriller elements though in it, and it's not like, again, this isn't Friday the 13th. It's not a guy chopping teenagers up, but it's it tortures you with anxiety. It's with that what a horror movie can do, and even like what a lot of thrillers can do. But I think the
It's
extremity of it. We talked about
it
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 with
knows where the audience is,
yeah,
and it is in her head, and they leave her to just like that, like just complete silence for
yeah,
so long, but
yeah,
you know exactly what just happened, so it
yeah,
allows you to linger with
yeah,
her, and it's just it's done so
yeah.
well again and again and again and again and again, and it just
Yeah.
piles on top of it's so fucking good.
So if we're gonna go over it, this is about reason 9,732 to have a Shutter subscription. So I would say go get a Shutter subscription and watch this movie.
I just
Watch that.
I don't know if it's because of you. I don't know. I reviewed the a movie. This is my favorite foreign film of all time. I just rewatched it the other day. It's not a horror film, but it's my favorite foreign film of all time, Heavy Trip. Man, that's a good fucking movie. I just gotta say,
I don't
because
know that one.
we always talk about foreign films. That's not a horror, but it's still foreign. It's called Heavy Trip. It's about
Yeah.
what are they, Finnish metal band trying to get their first gig at like a festival in Finland or something,
Yeah.
and they're called Impaled Rectum.
Oh my god.
It's so fucking good, dude.
Yeah.
It's a comedy, and the
Yeah.
metal is so fucking good in it too. So it's so good, man. Check out Heavy Trip.
Yeah. So yeah, go see that. And now, and we get in our second half. We're gonna spoil the shit out of it and go over it and kind of just talk about some stuff we liked for anyone who has watched it. Um, yeah, this movie starts off and you figure out real fast that the movie's evolving around Sarah and her two kids. A 6-year-old, 4-year-old. Her husband just died, was murdered.
Murder
I
Moose.
talked. Yeah, I was talking about it, like you figure out later on that like he had taken his kid to a park and got stabbed. Is how he got taken out, and no one will do anything about it. And they don't really go into it for a while, but
They let that
you can't.
unfold.
Yeah,
You picture
you
it
let that
together. Like as soon as
yeah.
you meet the mob guy and then see how fucking vicious he is, and the fact that he lives in the neighborhood, it's like, well,
Yeah.
it was 100% and obviously that fucking guy right there. Like
Yeah.
he oh, you looked
Yeah.
at my shoe wrong, you're dead. It's like, well, why does no one think it's this fucking guy?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where it's that character is going to get caught. Just I mean, if whatever, but like this guy hasn't, like, and it's like kind of like Scarface where you'll keep growing in your like doing anything you can to maintain your power base, and this guy is very much like that. And in the grocery store you learn a couple of things. One, there's a grocery store employee who keeps calling this woman a hooker, and you want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, he's a fucking worst.
He's the worst.
And his face,
Um,
like it's his face too, like he
yeah,
plays it, and I don't know if they just like the direction was just that good. It was just like, no, 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 be creepier, because that guy
yeah,
was a fucking creep, and I couldn't even stand looking at his fucking face.
yeah.
He was
You
a
want to punch
creep.
him?
Yeah, you literally want to punch him.
He asked Sarah how much, and you're like, he can't be doing this because he's like this middle aged blonde dude, and he's like working at a grocery store, and he's like, how much? And she's like, what? And you realize real quick that he goes, ah, she's not interested, and like walks off and basically and like was laughing about it. You're like, this guy is a fucking piece of shit, right? And And it sucks because this whole opening scene, she starts having this panic because the kid ate the candy bar, and this guy picks up the wrapper and makes sure that she pays for it. And you're like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You're just like ruining this woman's day. And first you sexually harass her, and then you like snitch on her. You're like, if you don't do this, you're going
like peers around the corner and makes sure at the till that she pulls
yeah.
it out and like
yeah. And so
goes out of his fucking way.
Yeah, you figure out real early that this woman is the 6-year-old doesn't talk at all because he saw his dad get killed. He was there with him at the park. And you don't know why. And so the kid is like, there's a 4-year, it's a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl, and the 4-year-old girl won't shut the fuck up the whole movie. Like, she speaks enough dialogue for both of them, and whenever they're not in very much of the movie. What?
And she's a parrot too.
Yeah. Well, dude.
Cock,
oh yeah.
cock.
Tito. You figure out how bad they are because like you get the idea after $17 is like all she's got to her name, and then she goes and puts the kids in bed later on, and that little fucker, the 6-year-old, eats the chocolate bar in the middle of the fucking store, and she bought him like pizza and something, and then the little kid is like poking his dinner with a fork because he's not hungry after he ate a chocolate bar in the middle of the fucking store. No shit, kid, you ruined your goddamn dinner, you little fuck. And
his dad got killed right beside him. He can do that.
I mean, now his mama's poor though, so I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, because she loved the shit out of him. Okay.
Yeah, she did, and
so, you feel for her.
Yeah. So when she's coming back,
this kid was from something else. Like, he looked so familiar to me. I don't know if it was just because he was dressed the same as like the kid from It or something, but I just swear he was in something before, and I went and checked him out. Yeah. This is his first credit.
Yeah. So
and only credit.
When they come back,
it's the same thing.
The whole thing with Tito is introduced, and Tito is stealing the coke or heroin. I don't know what it was.
It was a lot, and he had it all over his face. Like, that kid would have been dead. Like, he didn't even like sneeze.
Oh yeah, I'm like, what?
He didn't even sneeze. Like,
he was just like, he was like, okay, nah. They gave me a gummy bear to throw up or like spit out of my mouth and act like I'm throwing up. But yeah, so Tito steals all this shit from these two.
That whole scene right there, sorry to stop, but like that's when my wife, like, my wife wasn't paying attention, not really watching it. She was on her phone and she was there, but like that scene, she was like, oh my fucking God. Like, that is like, it is terrifying as like a parent, that scene and just that situation, and just like, holy fuck. Like, it really made me like, oh, like, but then the fact that nothing happened to the kid, I was like, what the fuck? Like, you just made like my anxiety like pop out of my head at this point, and there was like no repercussions for this. So I don't know. That was a little weird.
Yeah. So Tito steals a car, slams it into this car, and steals all these drugs. And he's running away from these guys and runs into this housing project area, and basically
it was just an open door of opportunity. Yeah. Because they were coming in from getting the 17.60 cent grocery.
Yeah. And she goes in and he follows her in and pushes her way into the apartment. And she basically goes, yeah, I'm keeping these here. And he basically threatens her. And he's just, it's this weird thing where like Tito is doing this. Like, he becomes this super relatable character because he's like, he doesn't come off as very smart, and he just found this, what he thought was going to be an easy way to get some money. And the dude's desperate because he's like, oh yeah, if they get a hold of me, they'll do some shit, but I got more plan. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And also
he's at the end of he's got nothing left to lose, it seems. So he's just like, fuck it, I'm all in. And just,
and he caused his roommates to get hammers to the hammered to the dick, and
Literally.
poor Tito,
Did he
poor Tito. I
say?
mean,
Okay, wait. Did the boss say? I was confused and didn't rewind. But like after he did the first guy, did he say that he got the guy's nuts on his shoe or something? Like, is that what he
I
said to
think
the second guy?
he said he got his like that something was on my shoe, like because wasn't he like trying to move or something, or did he like spit on? Oh, did he spit on him or something? I don't know if it was his blood. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah, it was very because this movie doesn't like go all out on the showing a lot of the violence. A lot of the violence is super implied, but not all of it,
But
right? So
they did a good job with the sound effects as well. To like they don't need to because everyone was doing a really good job. But also the camera being so close the entire time. I don't know. They showed some of the gore, and because it
oh
was
yeah, they
again
did.
so close up, it was
Yeah,
a good like gag shot. Like that first cut with the hacksaw
yeah,
was like
yeah.
really good
Well, dude,
because she was like, "Oh shit!" and like
yeah,
stop the blood flow and stuff. It looked real. I was like, "Holy crap!"
yeah.
Like this is really well done.
Well, it's what I
Good
really
gag.
liked about the so I'll get to it in a little bit. So yeah, so basically this Tito guy is like, yeah, whatever. And at one point he goes out and he comes back, and apparently he'd been selling a few of the bags of drugs, and he gives her like 20 quid, which is like $20, right? Or
Yeah,
whatever. And he sits there and he goes, yeah, I'll give you, what does he say? 40%, which is a lot of the fucking money. But like this woman literally couldn't pay for groceries like a couple
a
hours
second.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he gives her more money than she had to buy groceries earlier. And you're like, fuck, man. It's like that. It's this weird conundrum while you're watching this where you're like, you could see it with her, and she keeps going, I can't take your money. I don't want. I mean, it's like she has this thing in her head. She's like, this is a lot of money for me, like
yeah.
a lot of money for me, and it's the whole like what she'll do anything for her kids, and you see, I mean, not long after this, she's going back to the police station and asking about her husband's murder, and they basically have given up because they decided he was a drug dealer. Um, but basically, this Tito guy sets up his thing, and he comes back for like a couple days during this whole time, and I guess he gives her money again, and she goes back to what did she go to the grocery store like 3 times in this movie or something like that? Like,
Well, you got to. You're a parent.
yeah,
You got to
and
feed your kids.
yeah, well, yeah, and I know, but like he gives her more money like after he's been selling a bunch of these drugs, and
She goes on a
she
spree,
goes,
man.
yeah, she goes back to the grocery store and buys like, I don't think she goes overly fancy, but she like buys a bottle of wine, which is probably like, you know,
You
ten
can
bucks at least, and like
you can tell
out
she
of this
hasn't
20,
drank in a while.
yeah. Cause she it looks like she has a couple glasses of wine and she's fucked up because she wakes up drunk and throws up, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so you're seeing in the background though, like the two guys that got robbed who actually do a really good job. Like the one guy has a distinct look with a big old scar on his face. They go back to the boss and they're like, "Yeah, this happened," and they kind of know it's they. I don't know where it comes from, but I think they might have recognized Tito or something, but they figure out who Tito was. Um, and there's a like it really really only goes back between the Sarah character and the Leo character once you uh get introduced to Leo. The couple of guys who are like the gangster dudes are kind of like the precursors to Leo, right? They set up meeting Leo and then it goes from Leo to her.
Yeah.
Um
But that's when they do that fun like pan trick too. Like they keep following the one person and they whoosh,
they do the what?
they like pan like where it follows one character and then it like whoosh, and then goes
Yeah, it's
follows
like
the
a
next character.
continuation shot
Yeah.
even though it's not a continuation shot.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and I think yeah, cuz so she buys all this nice food and they go into they go home and they have like was it steak? I think they might have had steak or something like that. Um, and but
They
they have
were
a nice meal.
balling out, man.
Yeah, and she drinks too much and wakes up the next morning and is like has to run in the bathroom and puke. And for some reason, she's sitting on the bathroom floor. I really didn't get this, but like it makes sense. But like I don't know. And she realizes the drugs are in like you can pull a panel away from the bathtub, and the drugs are in there. And she pulls them out and is like ready to snort some coke or heroin or whatever it's supposed to be. And the kids the daughter wakes her or wakes up, and so she puts it back under the bathtub, but doesn't close the panel, right?
Yeah.
She just like puts it there but doesn't close it, and you're sitting there and going, oh no, because it seems pretty. I mean, it's pretty good at foreshadow. This movie foreshadows things multiple times.
Yeah.
Because like
It does it
when
like heavy-handedly, like that other movie did, where it was like
yeah,
by the third time you're like, okay, but at least when they do the like the foreshadowing thing, where, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. Never mind.
it's very like it's part of the reason you keep getting clues during the movie, which are natural and part of the movie, and you go, oh no, oh, because things keep happening, and you're like, oh, when that happens, oh no, and it's just like, oh no, oh no, no, like over, and you're saying oh no the entire time you're watching this movie. Yeah, so I don't know when so I think Tito comes back, right? Or I forget exactly what happens with this, but the kid gets left alone and ends up eating all the heroin or coke or whatever. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, he made a mess with it too. So I'm not sure how much of it was just dumped all over the floor. But this kid is gourded out of his mind on whatever drugs were in these bags. And she finds him and he's sitting there and he looks like in like a deleted scene from Sixth Sense. It's like a little kid that got overdosed on heroin or something like that. And she takes him in the bathroom and he pukes. And I think that was their explanation for him not dying. But I'm like, this kid's heart would exploded or something. Like, I don't know. Josh was talking about that a little bit ago about like the scene where he's like, his wife was like, oh shit. And you're like, yeah, this is hardcore. And you're like,
baby Tylenol, that like too much of that. If you don't shake it enough, there's like a crystal in it that could like give them too much. And you know, like it's crazy. He would have died.
And this kid did like enough heroin to kill a hobo, and yet or coke to do I don't know, man. But the kid survives, and it's like, huh? And this drives. Oh, by the way, I have to talk about this because it still was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Like the first day after the grocery store, this scene. I mean, I was like, I'm in with this movie. I mean, I thought I was in with the grocery store, but like, she goes when the kid steals the candy bar. They go home, and the whole Tito thing happens, and then she's sitting on her couch, and she wakes up. She falls asleep, wakes up, and she's like rubbing herself, and she's like all horny, and she goes into her bedroom and is gonna obviously play with a sex toy. She's got a giant vibrator. I mean, it comes into play later on here, but
it's got a tickler on it. She's like,
it's
she's
a bunny,
upgraded.
man.
Yeah,
it's got a bunny. It's got to rub. It's for clitoris stimulation, Josh.
Yep.
And she's sitting there, and she tries to use it, and it won't turn on. And she's like, "Fuck!" And she goes and does the regular
it's such
thing.
a good sequence, man. Like, it's just so well done, and like the music choice, and just she killed it too. Like, so good.
It just shows how desperate this woman is. And after the grocery store, she's just like, I just want to come. I just want to come. And she goes to steal the batteries out of the remote for the TV. Doesn't work. And then she literally crawls into her kid's bedroom to take out a toy.
Like a robot
and
or some shit. It's so good.
She takes out this giant toy and doesn't wake him up. And like doesn't have a screwdriver and is like so desperate to get off that she like uses a kitchen knife to get the batteries out. And then she puts them in and she like turns on and is like, and she's like, thank God. And you're like, oh man. And then this
No, she's
woman,
like, thank you, Jesus.
yeah. And because, okay. And so this is relevant because, I mean, besides the scene being amazing, the little kid does this heroin shit. And then Tito comes back and she's like apologizing to him. And she's like, I'll pay you. And I'm like, bitch, you can't even buy $18 worth of groceries. And you're going to pay this guy for hundreds of, if not thousands of dollars of drugs. And so he says, he basically is trying to force himself on her, trying to get a little rapey. And
A little.
he's, oh, sorry, very rapey. And he gets on top of her and he won't, like, in her bedroom. And she pokes him in the eyeball.
Stab.
With the vibrator.
Dildo stab.
Which was, yeah, she stabs him with it. And, which was so fucking good because you would go, that sounds like a comedy scene, but they played it so perfectly. Like they played it like this woman knew that this vibrator was here and was going to poke him directly in the eyeball with it, like because she's in her bed and this guy's trying to rape her. And so after he does that, like they get forced back into the wall, or she does, or she gets up to the wall, and the kitchen knife she used to get the batteries out of the toy is sitting there, and he comes after her and she stabs him. And she stabs him, stabbies him, and he dies. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh shit. Because this leads directly into it, like even more tension, because she's sitting there and what does she tell her kids? That he didn't feel good, Tito didn't feel good, and
he's taking a nap.
He needed to take a nap or something like that. Yeah. And
he had to lay down for a bit.
Yeah. At this point, the police knock on her door because her and Tito got a little loud when he was yelling about the drugs earlier, and her neighbors must have called the cops on her. Like, and
well, he
basically
broke
said
the window to get in.
Yeah, that too. And they're like, oh, what disturbances? And they like come into her place and they're like basically giving her shit about everything. And the one guy is like, oh, you girls, you sure like getting the shit kicked out of you, or whatever he says. And you're like, holy fuck. And they're basically going accusing, why won't you rat on this guy for beating the shit out of you? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, get out of my place, because they basically was you like getting the shit kicked out of you, right? Kind of line.
Well, and the one, like, the cops were the fucking worst.
Oh yeah.
The one cop was like poking around and like eating stuff off of the table during the conversation, and the other guy is just like judging her, like, how much did you drink? Like, clean up your shit, clean up your act, woman. Like, and like deliberately would say like woman and stuff too. Like, it was oh, everyone was just the fucking worst to this woman.
Oh yeah, because she's poor and she's a single mom. It's like they say terrible things to her and treat her like shit because she's not worth their time. Yeah, so she kicks him out, and at this point you go, it's right about this point, you find out Leo and his two goons have found Tito's flatmates where he's living. And you go in, and the two flatmates are like back to back on chairs, tied down. And he's trying to get these two morons to tell him where Tito is. And they're like, we don't know, because they really don't. And eventually, like, what is he tells them to use a metaphor. He wants an example of a metaphor. And the two guys are using like similes and stuff like that. And he's like, you're an idiot. And he's like, here's a world of here's a metaphor. You're in a world of shit. And he takes a hammer. It was a hammer, right?
Yep.
I think it was a hammer. And he you know those like those things you see at carnivals and fairs where you hit the thing and if it hits the top, like you win a prize. He like hit this guy's dick with a hammer hard enough to like for that thing to travel to the top of it, and just like win him any prize he wanted. He tees off on this guy's dick and then promptly tees off on the other guy's dick
It was
and just fucks him up because
it was
he
really great.
he hits the first guy a couple times with a hammer, and then he does to the second guy, and the second guy does in the floor, and you learn that he just started beating this guy to death with his bare fists because like the next scene is like him getting like bone fragments pulled out of his fucking knuckles because he was beating this guy with his like just punching this guy to death, and he goes, "Oh, this dude is fucking nuts." And
He's knucking fucks.
this
Like, for
yeah,
real.
he's knucking futs. This guy is batshit crazy. You're like, oh, this guy is just fucking ruthless. After all this, like the Sarah takes the two kids to her mother's house because she basically has to get rid of Tito's body. And Tito, I mean, Sarah's mom is kind of a bitch. It seems like Tito's mother, you kind of learn later on, just never loved anyone besides Sarah. So she seems very like, if I said Tito's mother, I meant Sarah's mother. She sits there and is judging her because her husband got killed, and even says your husband was a drug dealer. Yeah, there's a reoccurring theme throughout the beginning of this movie that they accuse her husband being a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And the mother's just giving her shit because she's like poor. And Sarah could also do something where her mother asks her if she needs money and she says no. I'm like, bitch, yes you do. Yes you do. You need money. You didn't have $18 for groceries like 3 days ago. And so this is what Josh was talking about. Like she goes to the hardware store and again has no money. And so she's like, fuck, I gotta take care of this. And is sitting there looking at all the sharp instruments, like trying to figure out which one is the best for getting rid of a body. And she's like playing with everything. And she ends up buying a hacksaw. I can't even imagine sawing up a person with a hacksaw. I get anxious when I have to cut off a tree branch with a hacksaw because it takes 9.5 hours per like quarter inch of tree. Hacksaws are the goddamn worst. But she also buys a hatchet. And then Sarah proceeds to do her best impersonation of Dexter.
Dexter,
of all time.
yeah, like that's when my wife got up and just went for a smoke. She's like, peace.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, she's just pulling a Dexter. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
it goes pretty intense because she plastics up this whole room, and they show you that this woman is smart because like she's like sitting there and like there's a scene like the next day we'll talk about it, but like she just is showing off her intelligence. But yeah, so she buys a hacksaw and a hatchet, puts a bunch of plastic under Tito, and then promptly cuts him apart. And she starts with a hacksaw, and that's the problem, right? She's like, this isn't gonna work. She's like,
but that's that's a really good shot though.
yeah,
Yeah. Gruesome.
it's super intense because it's very realistic gore, even for that little amount of time. With the
But it's
hacksaw
because
going
it's
to-
built up with so much
Yeah.
tension before it that if you're gonna do a good job with like a gory image, it's a payoff, and you're just
Yeah.
like you're there. So I think
yeah.
I don't know, like other films that we've watched lately, they didn't get, didn't have me like this movie had me. So like
Yeah.
the effect isn't as like crazy on me if you don't have me as much, yeah. You get what I'm saying.
I'm saying like this movie literally, and I keep saying it, but it's worth repeating. This movie doesn't. It gives you this little intro to this mom and her world, and then immediately hits you with the oh shit, this is fucked up, and it doesn't stop at that point. It's the next like 75, 80 minutes of just oh shit. You're literally sitting there saying oh shit the whole time. So she ends up hatching this guy's body apart into a bunch of bags, and then just dropping them in some dumpster across the street.
I love the line
And
at the end of the movie because it's just an unfathomable that one person could have did it. So they're like,
Yeah.
it's got to be like military or sub-military or gang related and stuff. I'm like,
It
that's
just no
fucking awesome.
It quite wasn't. He pissed the mother off, which is the biggest
oh
of
yeah,
sins.
don't fuck with mom.
Yeah. So this, so that the whole like next day. So the timing of this is weird, but so like what happens is she buys all this stuff and gets rid of she gets all the body together. And so the next day, uh, she has to go back and pick up her kids because the 6-year-old has therapy because he's not talking, right? And so as they're leaving the hospital, the little stupid little fucking 4-year-old keeps going Tito, 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 Tito. And this is the biggest, like, this is movie logic where you're like, it's not crazy, 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 but you're like, oh my God, this would never happen in real life. But like,
No.
with how does everything's going for this woman, maybe. But basically,
This
they
is
walk
what
by.
those type of isms or whatever those
Yeah.
are that happen. They reminded me
Yeah.
of like movies like Rumble in the Bronx and stuff. It's just like
Yeah.
it's like a weird interpretation of like what. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. You're like, it just seems like you're like, the chances of this happening are crazy. It's in like, the bigger the town, they're not in London for this movie, right? But like, it's a smaller town, but like, still, you're
The
like,
mob boss just happens to
Yeah.
be driving past with his BMW and both windows half down so everyone can see how cool his fucking shitty goatee looks.
yeah.
At the exact
he-
time that little girl is saying Tito, Tito, Tito. Like, that's
Yeah.
okay.
So, well, it's funny about that. So, like, he's leaving from getting the bone fragments pulled out of his knuckles, right? And he hears her going Tito. And there had been this foreshadowing, kind of like we were talking about before, where they kept saying, as soon as they find out it was this Tito guy, they're like, oh, that name is super weird, right?
It's unique.
I've never met a Tito
just like,
before.
Just like the director's name is unique.
Yeah. And they hear, so then he hears this little girl saying Tito, and he follows them back in his BMW, as Josh was talking about, to her apartment block.
Bright
And
blue.
basically-
Sorry, I forgot to describe. Bright blue.
Yeah. It's very, very bright blue. And I'm sure it's a convertible too.
I'm sure
right?
he
I don't
probably
know.
had one of these too, man. Look at this.
Yeah. Those, the switchblades. Yeah.
With the comb, though.
And so at this point, he knows where they live. And so basically he gets the two goons to go watch her, right? And they go and watch her apartment block because they don't know specifically where she lives. And they end up
Why does
seeing
she
her
instantly start looking conspicuous, though? Like, nobody knows
Yeah.
you've done anything. So why are you all of a sudden, like, peering around a fucking bush, like, and then you look and, oh, shit, they see me looking
Yeah.
weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like
the best
they
fucking
caught
part
you
about this is, yeah, they go and she goes back to the fucking place she dropped Tito's body and is watching him carried around and like, bitch, you're like the fucking pyromaniac that like burns a building down and then stands outside and watches it fucking burn down,
He
right?
goes, man, that's just terrible.
Yeah. And so they see her and they're like, oh, we've been spotted because she's like,
Well, she doesn't
oh,
live
you know,
there.
she's like freaking out.
Maybe it's
And-
just like the cops at the end. Obviously, you're not going to shit where
Yeah.
you eat, but she just shits everywhere. She doesn't care where
Yeah.
she eats.
Well, this is another really good scene though, because they start trying to chase her down. And at this point, Leo, like they must have called Leo or something when they're like trying to chase, get like right to her. Cause there's like, they take the camera off of her for a little bit, off of them for a little bit. And Leo shows up. And when the little 6-year-old boy sees Leo, he fucking freaks the fuck out. And then you put two and two together that
Yeah.
this guy killed his dad. Right. And, but he runs out in the street and almost gets plowed over by a fucking garbage truck. And these two are my favorite characters in the fucking movie, I think. These two garbage guys are like, what the fuck's going on here? They stop the truck because they almost plowed this 6-year-old over. And they end up, Leo beats the shit out of them, but because he's like, if you two are smart, you'd get out of here. They're like, we're not smart. We're rubbish workers or something like that, or whatever they say. And it's just like, oh my God, I love these two. But then Leo kills them, presumably.
He beats them bad down and then it cuts away.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely showing you, the audience, just how ridiculously vicious this character is.
And brutal. Yeah, this guy is. this is the last leap I didn't really get. So like you fast forward and the Sarah's taking the kids to her mom's house, and like it's nighttime and she's just watching out the window, and her and her mom have this conversation, and like her mom's like, I didn't ever love your dad, and you're like, ugh. But she's like, I think the only person I've ever loved is you. So her mom is like Sheldon, like she's like,
Yeah, super
like
blunt. She's just British,
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah,
Like she reminds me
yeah,
of my fucking grandma, because my grandma was just tell it like it was like that as
yeah,
well, right? She
yeah,
was brutally honest, but was the sweetest lady. Oh, but yeah,
yeah.
it's hilarious.
And she's like, it's weird because she's like basically she tells her daughter, she's like, yeah, I just wanted a baby, and your father was like the only one around, so here we are. And it's like, what the fuck?
No,
And
she said I wanted a baby, and it's your dad just kind of wanted sex, so I guess it worked out.
and she's like, you mom. um and she has this conversation, and like Sarah walks out after this, and fucking Leo's just standing in her mom's house. How did Leo find her mom's house is the next question, because
He's the mob boss. He knows everything, and he follows people around in his blue BMW, always with his windows half down, so everyone can see how good his stupid, shitty fucking goatee looks. Dude, that's how he spies too. It's just half cocked down, so everyone can see. He's an idiot.
it's yeah. So basically, he's like, "Where's where's your boyfriend? Where's Tito?" And she's like, "I'll bring him to you in an hour." And this guy's like, you can see he's kind of intrigued, right? Because he's like, I could just kill this bitch now, but I'm intrigued. So yeah, okay, meet me in an hour. Um, what makes me laugh though is, so obviously, like, what I don't understand is like, oh, you know what it happens? They figured out where this girl lived, and then that's how he found her. He probably called the cops or something like that and figured it out. But um, she goes back to her apartment, and the fucking place is trashed. Because the guys have been looking for Tito or the drugs or whatever. And so at this point, she gets all sexied up, and I'm not quite sure why.
You know what's funny about that though? Honestly thought she looked better before. I was like, what? You put on like makeup and stuff and got all done up, but I honestly think you don't look as good now. It's super weird.
Yeah, she looked overly done up. And I wonder if that was like, she's trying to look like, I don't know if it was like trying to be hooker looking or like sleazy looking for this dude or what. I'm not sure. But like, she gets all dressed up in this like black dress and lipstick and everything like that, and goes, and she carries a like, looks like a bowling bag, right? And you're like, I knew immediately what was in it, and I was right, I guessed.
Well, it's pretty fucking easy guess at that point.
Yeah. Well, I
don't
know why though. That's what I want to question with you in a little bit there. But she goes in this club that he owns, that like he operates out of, and
I've been like, honestly, that club, the band playing, like I've been in bands playing in clubs for years and years and years, and that whole interaction that she awkwardly has with that random dude at the back of the club, I've had that exact interaction so many fucking times in my life that I laughed so hard out loud at the guy just coming up and be like, so you like the drunk asshole at a dirty club with a metal band playing. Like, that's my life, man. Like, there's always that guy at the back of the club too. It's hilarious. And the guy's just like, get out of here, Steve. Like,
the guy with the big old scar on his face. He takes her downstairs, and like, this dude is like working like 900 feet underground. It's like the presidential, like, the bunker underneath the White House. And it's in there, and it goes, oh, this, I'll talk about it in a second. So he like pats her down, and she goes in with his bag, and he's like, Leo's like, where's Tito? And she's just look in the bag, and the scarred guy looks in the bag. He's like, what the fuck? and he's like freaking the fuck out because even for him this is fucked up. And she
That was a pretty good
she
like
reaches
fake
down.
head too, though.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
and it looks like Tito, right?
Yeah,
It actually looks like him.
They did a good fucking job.
She reaches down and pulls out Tito's head. Why did she keep Tito's head? Is my only question. And
She must have had this scheme in her head before, because like it shows you beforehand after she does the whole scene with the garbage dumping and everything, and then it makes it look like she accidentally forgot one bag. So I thought it was going to be because she forgot about the drugs, so I thought it was going to be that like, oh shit, and it's going to lead to something else. But I guess at this point we're learning that she must have had this concocted at that point, and knew that she was going to use this as her fucking checkmate, because she hid the fucking gun in the head. Like that's a good. That's like, oh, what the fuck? I don't know.
That it's
again,
very
that's
much
like Breaking Bad schemey type.
It reminds me of the end of Die Hard. Is really what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
so,
taping a gun.
Yeah, so she pulls Tito's head out and she's like, "Here's Tito," and they're all like freaking the fuck out. And you had basically been like that. She knew that Leo had killed her husband because of her son, right? And she's like, "Why'd you kill him?" or whatever. Like it's I don't know the exact order of everything, but it ends up being she pulls the head out and she's like holding it, and they're getting angry with her, and she reaches into the back of the head, which is fucking, I don't know how she did this, but and pulls out this pistol when she had been taking Tito apart. She found his gun, and she holds it on him, and she ends up shooting both of the goons, and shooting Leo, and she's like asking Leo why he killed her husband, and you had been led to believe the whole time it was because he was a drug dealer, but he goes he was being a good Samaritan. Basically, some dude owed him a bunch of money, and he tracked him down in this park, and
he was
Sarah's
just there
husband
playing with his son. Yeah, he was just at a park.
Yeah, and tried to stop him, and he got stabbed, because Leo's that crazy. And this is like, the one guy was dead. The other, you hear him cussing the rest of the scene. The other guy, the goon guy, and Leo's sitting there, and you see him. He's trying to grab the gun, like the end of a movie villain kind of thing.
Yeah, just out of his reach, with his shitty fucking goatee. He reaches.
It's the most generic bad
for
guy
like
goatee
5 minutes, and finally gets it, and then he has it. And then he still doesn't use it for like another 5 minutes, and then he goes to use it, and it's good though.
And then she shoots him. And so my wife pointed something out. They don't show it. She takes the security VHS, because we live in 1993 apparently still, and she must have found money in this room, like in taking it, because that they didn't show, because the very next scene it's her going to the grocery store with her 2 kids and just going to town on it, which might be my favorite scene in the whole world, because then the asshole from earlier comes back and is like, "Hey, so how much do you charge?" And she goes, at the same time the kids are there and they're by the candy bars again, and she goes and gives both the kids candy bars and goes, "Where's your manager at?" And he's like, she's like, "I'm going to go and tell him that you showed us your cock." And he's like, "I didn't do anything like that." She's like, "Yeah, but he'll have to fire you." And he's like, she gives him the 2 candy bar wrappers and goes, "You're going to need those to pay for those." And you're like, "Oh, damn."
Yeah.
Sarah ain't fucking around.
And then that's when the little girl starts saying, "Cock, cock, cock."
Yeah, it says cock, and it's. Oh, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's a parrot. You were very right. She's and then she takes him home, and probably the best part of the movie, and she puts the kids into the bed that they share, and then the kid says something, and you're like, it's like touching at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, holy shit. Like,
you're here with these characters. Like the way this movie was filmed The way it unfolds, you just
Yeah.
you're rooting for her, almost as much as like I don't know. I watched the whole series of Dexter. I'm excited that it's coming back. That type of stuff. So like it was almost
Yeah.
like it took that and did the same thing because like I loved Dexter and you wanted the best for that character and I wanted the best for this character. So it was good. Good.
Yeah. So after this, they basically conclude the movie with a news report talking about the killings and the 3 bodies they found. Oh, because after she shoots Leo the second time, she picks up a hammer and fucking goes old boy on the other 2 motherfuckers. She just hammers these motherfuckers to death, and you're like, holy
Oh
fuck.
yeah.
Sarah,
She's just like a full on murder moose now. Yeah.
yeah, she's a murder moose, man, and she hammers these 2 fucks to death.
Because she had the other gun. I was like, why didn't you just pick up the other gun? But she
Yeah.
chose the hammer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. So like after the credits, it's literally just it's her like this. And then it goes black. Like it's a close up, but it's just her like kind of like really satisfied smiling, like creepy.
This woman will it might have you start going, did this like awake something in this woman that you're like, oh shit,
she's the new Dexter. Maybe she'll
so
be
basically,
in the next season.
They basically say that they think that this whole thing was caused by a turf war, right?
Yeah.
And
she's scot-free. She's good to go.
And yeah, that reoccurring thing that's throughout this movie is that like they don't care about poor people and criminals, and so they don't give a fuck. And the best part is that they found the body pieces for Tito, and they just associate him with all this, and it's just like because of the head, right? Because she left the head there, and it's like, oh shit, like they foreshadow a lot of things, but man, they tie it all together so perfectly, and it's just like, damn. I can't believe how tense this movie had me for 90 minutes plus, and I really, really enjoyed it. So,
freaking done. See this movie. A Good Woman is hard to find.
Again, it is called A Good Woman is Hard to Find. It's on the episode title. You guys could all read. Okay, so
once
for next
again,
week,
that is
yeah. Next week, you're talking about doing. So I want to kind of try to do if we can do it with So Horrified, the Fanatic. But what's the other movie that you said next is on your thing that you want to do?
Anything for Jackson.
Anything for Jackson. Okay. So next 2 weeks will be the Fanatic and Anything for Jackson.
Vortex Productions.
We'll figure it out before next week. So just tune in, and those 2 movies, if you watch them soon, they'll be the next couple episodes. So I'm tired. I'm beat. It's been a long day in this crazy country, but Josh.
Yeah, man. Stay safe, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. It was a blast, dude. This movie was really awesome, so I really enjoyed watching it. So
next we're doing the John Travolta movie?
It's either or. I don't know when I talked to him about days, but I had to talk to you about, finalizing it. So,
well, whatever.
So I'll talk to you after the podcast about when we're going to do it. So
sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Josh, you are Josh WRB.
I am.
Twitter.
I am
Rod
Twitch, YouTube.
Johnston. Yep. All those places. And I am Rod _ Johnston or Rod Johnston everywhere, all lowercase. So, and you can find all that stuff on murdermoose.com. Murder Moose. So.
Oh wait.
Also,
we should get like a sound that you can have on your on your soundbite board, like the murder moose, like that. There.
We need a murder moose sound. There we go. We'll figure it out.
There it was.
And we could go to
it's always got to end with the weird fart.
Yeah, or something. It's just me and you going, bye. So, yeah. Okay. Go to murdermoose.com. Give us a rating, a 5-star if you can.
Woo!
It'd be appreciated. Follow us on Twitter. We put all our episodes out. It's Moose Murder Pod on Twitter. So.
Why did they do that? You put it in, and then it's like, fuck you, I'm going to reverse it.
I didn't realize I did it until it was created.
It did to me on a new account that I just set up, too. I was like, okay, I want it to be this, and it was like, and switched it. I was like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Okay. Well, Josh, I love your face. You stay safe in the wintry ice ages of Canada.
Yeah.
and all the listeners, thank you for listening. You guys fucking rock, and we will catch you guys next week.
Garbage day.
Garbage day.
See ya, buddy.